Hey folks, Tango Oscar Mike, and I'm out in the backyard. We have family coming over, so I don't have time to do much of anything else, but I built this antenna. As you know, I'm mostly a QRP guy, and most of my antennas are for QRP, probably 15 watts or less single sideband. I do have some ones that are supposed to be good for a 50 watt single sideband, but I wanted something that could handle a little bit more power. So I had a spare 240 FT 240 43, I believe. I think that's what it is. Yeah, FT 240 43, I believe. And I found this print on Thingiverse, and I wound a 49-to-1 and fit it on there. It actually fit on there perfectly, and that's probably one of the better shrink wrap jobs I've ever done. So I was pretty happy with that. And as you can see, the bugs are terrible, which is why I have a bug shirt on. And I would like that to be a little bit higher off the ground. But for right now, I'm going to hook up my VNA and do a quick test on it and see what it looks like. That's actually, I believe, 136 feet of wire, 35 feet of wire. And it's super thin, that really tough PVC coated stuff. It's very strong wire, but it has memory, and I don't usually use it, but I had it and it was one continuous piece. So it's up in a tree about 40 feet maybe. So let me grab my VNA here, hook it up real quick and see what I get. Actually, I'm going to sit on this case. Woohoo! Perfect. Perfect. I need the one with the B and C connector on it. Yeah, I mean, that's practically laying on the ground, so that's not ideal from my experience with endfeds. So I will raise it up here in a second, but I am going to take a look and see what it looks like. Recall. Let's check 14 meters. Yeah, it's high on 14. It's fantastic on 80. Let's see. On 3.585, it is 1.1. So let's see how far I can go up before. At 3.689, I am at 1.6. That's not bad, but if you do any airy stuff, you know that like 3.9 is where everybody is for airy stuff. So at 3.7, at 1.9. Let me raise that antenna up somehow and see what I get. I'm going to disconnect it in case I have to drag it. Let me check. I'm going to try raising it up. There's a tree over here. I think I can reach it to the tree, tie a piece of paracord just to get it. I just want it like a foot or two off the ground. I found that that's usually the best for endfeds. So let me try that. Okay, so I actually have it a little higher than I wanted to. It's probably 2 to 3 feet off the ground, and it drastically changed the tune of the antenna. Like drastically. Now it looks super long on 20 meters. Super long. Like it's well, let's try the middle. I'll show you the middle of the band. Let's go 14 285, and at 14 I'm at 14 285. I'm at 2 to 1, but it goes way down, so it actually goes much lower than that, but it's at a much higher bandwidth. So let's check 80 meters. 80 meters. Before it was like 3.5 was the lowest area. Now it's 3.6 is a 1:1. 3.9 is 2.7, so it's under 3 now at that portion of the band. And this is the issue with 80 meters. It's so narrow now that it's great for digital, the way this antenna is cut right now. Yeah, it's fantastic for digital, but it's no good for voice. I mean, it'll work for voice, but I really would, you know. So I think I'm going to turn this into a linked endfed. I've done that for other ones because the majority of the time I'm using 20 and 40. You know, in that range. I'm rarely going above 40. So if I measure this out and cut it, put the link in, you know, measure that, get 40 tuned in, 20 and 40 tuned in, then I can add 80 back onto it. So I think I might try doing that. I might go get my tape measure, try measuring it out and cutting it. I wish I knew the actual length. I might actually measure it, because if I knew the actual length, I could kind of tell where my tune was. You know, whether I needed it to be a little longer or a little shorter. So I think I'm going to pull it down. I think I'm going to measure it, and then I'm going to cut it and try to tune it for 80 meter or for 40 meters, 20 and 40 meters. And then I'll try maybe adding a length back onto it. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. So my tape measure is only 100 feet, but I'm dragging it out here. I have it staked right down there at the end of the antenna. So there's 100 feet. Let me drop the antenna down and we'll do some measuring. Let me show you real quick the wire that I'm working with. This is the wire. I believe I got this from DX Engineering. I believe this is 26 gauge, super durable coating on it, PVC, I guess. But yeah, very invisible in the air. You can almost barely see it in the air, and if it's on the ground, you're not going to see it either. But that's what I had, so that's what I'm using. Plus, it allows me to get all that spooled on here. You couldn't do that with like 14 gauge or something like that. So I figured out a little bit of difference. I cut the end in the length and the way the tune was, and I have the antenna back up exactly where it was before, just with a connector in the middle. And on 40 meters, at 7.1, I am at 1:1. If I go up to where I was, so it's still a little long, but if I go up to 7.2, it's 1.2. And if I go all the way up to the end of the band, 7.3, I'm at 1.5. So I'm happy with that, and that's where it's going to stay. Let's check 20 meters. And 20 meters, it's flat across the band pretty much. So at, let's go 14, 200 for example. Actually, I'll go higher. 14.15, I'm at 1.3, and all the way up to 14,350. Yeah, I'm 1:1. Actually, yeah, 1:1. So this is perfect the way it is on 40 and 20 meters. Wouldn't change a thing. So technically now I should be able to solder some links in there, some connectors in there, and then have this for 80, and maybe just cut it a little bit shorter so it'll work for 80 meters. Okay, so I don't have a great way to film this. Let me put the sun over here to film this. But here's what I did. So if you can see, I have two insulators that I 3D printed PETG with a little clip in the middle. The wires just run through there, and then I have this tiny little, let me pull it apart here. tiny banana plug, and that's what will connect the two pieces. So now I'm going to go down, put it back up, test it without the link in and make sure it's still good, and then I'll put the link in, test it for 80, maybe shorten 80 a little bit, but it's going good. And here is why I don't like this wire. I just dragged it up to the house. I kept the ends separate, did my soldering, and then tried to bring it back down, and this is what I get. It's not pulling apart nice and easy. So now I got to figure out how to get it apart. None of the ends should have passed over. It shouldn't be tangled, but I think this just like loops onto itself. It may not be as bad as it looks, but 40 is excellent. Perfect across the entire band. No complaints. And 20, yeah, 20, it's great. No, looks fantastic, to be honest. So now I'm going to connect up that 80 meter section, and I left my cutters up there. I'm going to connect up the 80 meter section, measure it, see what it looks like, and then trim a little, just a little bit off if I need to. There's a better shot of my connector. I'm sure it could be smaller, but it looks good for me. Connected. I gotta raise it back up. Okay, so I cut about 6 inches off the 80 meter line, and now on the upper or the lower end of 83.9, I'm at 2.5 to 1. But now on the digital, I'm up on the digital, I'm 1.5 to 1. Now, if I really, jeez, the flies. So here's a tip, and it's not because I'm old, why I wear wide-brimmed hats. It's not because I'm old and I just like old hats. The wide-brim hats, this is a summer tip, the flies and bugs tend to not fly under the hat and into your face and onto you. They may land on top of the hat, which you don't care about, but they typically don't get in your face, which I like, plus it prevents my neck from getting burned. But that's the main reason, is it prevents the flies from going up and hitting you in the face and just driving you crazy. So that's why I wear wide brim hats all the time. And the flies are terrible out here. I mean, they're landing on my hands and trying to bite me on my hands. That's why I have the bug shirt on. I had a t-shirt on for a little bit, and a couple of flies bit me. And these are, we call them zebra flies because that's what they look like, but they're actually a type of horse fly, and they bite, and they can be very painful, and they can get very large. The reason we call them zebra flies, if you look at their wings, they have little stripes on them, kind of looks like a zebra. But so I don't think I'm going to mess with the 80 meter portion of the antenna anymore. I don't want to cut any more off. I could always fold it back on itself, but right now where it's at, it's pretty good. It's usable everywhere, and the linked portion of this is excellent. Now I need to decide whether or not, when I wind it up, if I'm going to put both links on the winder, which I have plenty of room for, or if I'm going to do them somehow separately. How I would do it with both on the winder is I would probably wind the 80 meter up first, wrap a couple of rubber bands around it, or wrap a rubber band around it, and then wind up the 40. So when I unwind it, the 80 meter stays rubber banded to the winder, but the 40 meter comes off. So that's probably what I'm going to do, and just keep it on the same winder. And if you're curious, I'm using the SAA-2N that I got from R&L Electronics. Again, not sponsored or anything. Everything that you've ever seen me do, I do on my own fruition and money or whatever. But I like this one. I bought this one because it has the larger N-type connectors on it. Even though you got to use adapters, you still have to use adapters on the little ones, and I'm not a big fan of SMAs. So I bought the bigger one, and it's in a metal case, which it just appealed to me. So, but no, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is Tango Oscar Mike saying 73. and happy Memorial Day, which is tomorrow.